How did you end up going to Michigan State for college? Were there a lot of colleges recruiting you back then?
There were a few. Purdue was one of them. Purdue University. There was smaller colleges like Albion College, Delaware. There were some smaller schools. But I mean, it happened fairly quickly in 1977. I was an exchange student, and then a couple of months into the football season, we had a really good team, and a lot of good players a lot of them were recruited at colleges, and I happened to be one of them. So it happened, it happened fairly quickly. Oh God. Go ahead.
Because Michigan State's coach at that time was Darryl Rogers, right?
Yeah.
And back then, kickers weren't highly recruited. I mean, it was kind of like an afterthought. But again, Darryl was a little ahead of his time there going for you.
Yeah, Darryl was. He was really one of the first people that was using the West Coast offense. We were very, we threw the ball a lot, and he had a guy named Bob Baker, offensive coordinator, who came down. He had been in the CFL for a lot of years, and there was another Danish kicker, Hans Nielsen, who was at Michigan State, who came down and recruited me, and certainly convinced me that, if he could do it, I could probably do it too. And so that was a big factor in me ending up as a Spartan.
So you were born in Copenhagen. I mean, did you have any idea about American football when you came over to the U.S., or did you just pick it up when you came over?
Yeah, I just picked it up. I didn't know anything about, barely spoke the language, really, so it was a little bit of a culture shock, but picked it up pretty fast, actually. Landed on my 17th birthday, and 2 days later I'm kicking field goals for the high school team, so it happened really, really fast.
At Michigan State, you played in the Big Ten. Was Ohio State your biggest rival, or was it Michigan?
It was Michigan for sure. Yeah, University of Michigan. We beat them my freshman year, 24-15.
What was that like going against
Schembechler and all those? What's that?
What was it like going against Bo Schembechler and those teams?
Well, I had a lot of respect for Bo and his teams. And playing in the big house in Ann Arbor was pretty cool. Obviously, Spartan Stadium was equally as fun. But being in front of 105,000 people was pretty mind blowing. And just his history, obviously, he was pretty unique, I think, time back there, 1978 to 81. We won the Big Ten. My very first year there, we had great players: Eddie Smith, Kirk Gibson, Mark Bramer, really good players, and so that beating Michigan my freshman year was like, let's do that every year, but it's the only time in 4 years we beat them.
And did you play in the Rose Bowl that year when you won the Big Ten?
We would have, but we were on probation from a previous coach. Denny Stoltz had been put on probation, so we were banned from postseason play. So I never played in the bowl game.
That'd be kind of depressing. I mean, you go there and get to play in the Granddaddy Mall, but you're on probation there.
Yeah, it was a bad deal, but it was really none of our doing. It was the previous administration. So I really don't know what the reason was for us going on probation, because it was happening before I got there. We inherited that problem.
What was Kirk Gibson like as a teammate?
Well, he was great. He was just a great athlete, led by example, and was a true leader on the field, and was a great. I'm actually going to see him here in a couple of weeks. So we very, very good player, All-American in baseball, All-American in football. Probably would have been drafted in the first round if he had decided to become a wide receiver in the NFL.
You made that 63-yard field goal against Ohio State. How big was that kick?
Well, it's the longest I've ever kicked in a game, so it was, unfortunately, it wasn't big in the context of the outcome of the game because we got our ass kicked by Ohio State. So, but it was before before halftime. It was a big moment. You know, it's a big moment in my history and a big moment in Spartan history. But unfortunately, it didn't help us win the game.
And you kicked it outdoors in the conditions. And I mean, that couldn't have been easy. It wasn't an indoor kick.
No, it was at Ohio State. It was in the horseshoe, and had a little bit of wind behind me, but it was a big kick. I mean, I hit it well.
Did you have any idea that the Saints were going to draft you in '82?
No idea. I had no communication with them at all. So this was completely a big surprise to me that they took me in the fourth round.
For a kicker to be drafted in the fourth round was rare even then. I mean, because again, kickers were afterthoughts in the NFL. Was there a lot of pressure on you being a fourth round pick?
You know, I suppose there were big expectations from New Orleans. They had drafted their very first draft choice a couple of years earlier was Russell Erxleben, who was a punter place kicker from Texas, and he had not worked out very well. So, you know, obviously they were hoping this pick would work out better, and thank God it did. But you know, I was just trying to make the football team. Really, to be honest with you, I didn't really think about any of the expectations or the history of it or the ramifications. I was just really trying to make kicks and get onto the football team.
Was it hard having to strike in '82 basically to stay in shape and basically keep your kicking game going, or did it really affect you at all?
Well, I was hurt. I was hurt on the opening kickoff. My very first play of my NFL career, I got hurt, so I was out for 8 weeks, and the strike actually worked in my favor because it gave me a chance to rehab and get healthy again, so when the strike was over, I could continue playing. So if the strike hadn't come there, I would have missed a ton of games.
What was it like playing for Bum Phillips with the Saints?
I love Bum. He was like a dad, you know, so everything was kind of a family atmosphere, and we played for each other. We won some games. We would like to have won a few more and gotten into the playoffs with Bum as our head coach, but you know, it didn't happen. But we had a lot of big moments together, and I just loved the man. He was just a great mentor and a great father figure to me.
What was it like when Jim Mora came aboard?
I would say the polar opposite. Completely different than Bum. But in defense of Jim and his policy was, you know, Bum's way hadn't worked to the point where we had gone to the next level. We had won, but we really hadn't won consistently, and we had not gone to the playoffs. So that was the mandate that Jim Mora had been given by Jim Finks, that we had to, and Tom Benson, the new owner. So there were a lot of changes in the front office of the Saints organization, and Mora was obviously given the responsibility of turning this thing around, and the way he felt he had to do it was with more discipline and that kind of thing, and more structure. And so with that in mind, he did assemble the type of team that he wanted, I felt, and we did win. We won a lot of games with Mora.
I mean, you had a great linebacking core with Ricky Jackson, Sam Mills, Vaughn Johnson, and Swilling there. I mean, that kind of made things a little easier on him. Yeah,
we had a great defensive line with Jim Wilkes, Frank Warren, great players there, and then the linebackers, and then we kicked a lot of field goals, and we had ball control. We didn't turn the ball over. We ran the ball effectively. Bobby Aber was a great quarterback for us, and we possessed the ball. We moved the chains, and we scored in the red zone. And if we didn't, a lot of our scores would be, 15-12, or we would win by a lot of field goals. That's really what we did.
Did they put a lot of pressure on you, knowing that you had a strong defense and you had to kick these field goals and win these tight games?
Never felt that way. Just felt like I was a part of the game, integral part of the game, and I was busy, and that kept me in the game. I loved that, and so I just felt like, hey, they're using me. They feel like I can be an offensive weapon, and let me embrace it, and that's kind of what I tried to do.
A lot of coaches think of kickers as like the 52nd member of the team. Did you feel that way with the Saints, or were you actually did the team take you in and the coaches and say, you're part of the team here, you're important?
I always felt part of the teams that I played for. I never felt like I was a separate entity or anything. I know my skill was unique and specific, but I always felt like I was a part of the team and had the respect of my teammates, and they had respect of me.
When you made that 60-yard kick against the Bears, did you think to yourself, you know what, I wish it was a couple yards, 3 yards deeper so I could go for the record?
Yeah, that ball was hit really well. I mean, that could have been good from 70. So, yeah, in retrospect, that would have been nice. Back it up another 5, 7, 8 yards. We still would have been good.
Do you feel that kicking in the dome helped you make the Hall of Fame, or you think you could have made it no matter where you kicked?
No, I never gave that much credence. My numbers are just as good outside in the elements, so I feel like I could be, and I was effective. I was in Kansas City and New York and had big years for them. So I think for me, that was the hand I was dealt. I played for a team for two teams for 21 years with the Falcons and the Saints that happened to play inside. Had they played outside, I would have been fine.
And plus, you kicked before you had that special kicking ball, so you were kicking with the balls they were actually using for playing offense and defense. Was that harder, you think, on you than it is today?
Well, we didn't get a chance to really work the balls, like they do today, where they can manipulate the ball. Not manipulate's the wrong word, but where they have a K ball. We didn't have that. Whatever the quarterback wanted, that's what we were kicking, and so again, I kicked whatever was put on the ground, so I didn't give it too much thought.
So what is the difference between a K ball and the balls that are used in the game? Is the ball softer, the balls you're kicking with, than what they're kicking with today? Or
no, it's just a matter of controlling. The K ball is used in kicking situations, so any kicking play, that's the K ball gets thrown in there, and it's just a control issue from the league side that they don't want the balls doctored or tampered with, if you will.
What do you think the biggest kick of your career was?
I hate to pick one out, but I mean, certainly the NFC Championship game was big because we went to the Super Bowl because of it. But a lot of good things happened before that kick as well. So that was a big kick, a big moment. But all kicks have the same value. So I'd like to think they're all important in their own way. But that one was the last play of the game in overtime to go to the Super Bowl. So I would probably say that had the biggest impact.
Did you think to yourself, I mean, listen, I've been playing 13 after your 13th season. Am I ever going to make a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, again, it was year by year, kick by kick, and, it felt great to get there. It felt equally as bad not winning the game, so I was grateful that I did make the Super Bowl, but very disappointed we didn't win the game. So, again, one of those things, it wasn't meant to be for me too much.
Did you ever wish you had a chance to break Tom Dempsey's record when you were playing?
I never gave that any thought, really. I dealt with the hand I was given and did the best I could.
What was the key to you being able to last so many years in the NFL, to kick from 1982 to 2007, over 20 years?
I would say just hard work, persistence, will, stubbornness, and having great people around me that did their job really well at a high level, and then great communication between all of us, what we needed from each other to play at a high level. I think that's probably the key for me.
Ray Guy mentioned that when he came in the league, he just punted the ball as far as he could, and then as he got older, when his leg wasn't as strong, he learned how to directionally punt. Did your kicking style change from when you first entered the league to when you left?
Yeah, I think I managed my behavior better as I grew older. I kicked less. I had more quality kicks, and I really kind of dialed in, honed in on my skill, and I knew mentally exactly what I needed to do, and I understood my workbench, where that ball's put down. I really understood my job and defined my job, and I was able to execute what I needed to do. And I think in the beginning of my career, I was more probably winging it, and I think that's what Ray probably is referring to, where you were just more of a feel guy. I think as I matured, I probably became a little more methodical, a little more thought out, if you will.
Nowadays, they pay these long snappers millions of dollars because they realize how important they are to the punts and kicks. And during your time, did it matter who was snapping the ball or who was holding the ball for you, or whoever it was, it was?
Well, whoever it was, I was going to make sure that I communicated to them what I needed from them, which was their very best. Because I didn't accept, if a guy thought he could just put the ball down randomly, that was unacceptable. And if a guy thought he could just snap it randomly, so I demanded from those two guys that they knew exactly what they were doing, and then they could do it consistently again and again, because that's what was expected out of me. So I felt like we kind of the three of us worked like fingers in a glove. That was very important, that we were on the same page, and that they told me what they needed and I told them what I needed from them. And then there was a trust where we didn't overthink it. When those, when that was clearly laid out, then we worked the skill, and then we trusted it, and we played.
Did you have a favorite snapper or favorite holder?
Dan Straczynski was my best holder. He had the best hands. He understood exactly what to do with different snaps if they came in weird. Kendall Gammon was my best long snapper by far in Kansas City. He was an artist, and he knew exactly what to do with the ball and put it in the right place. So I was very lucky to have those two guys in Kansas City for 2 years.
How fulfilling was that when you ended up being the all-time leading scorer?
Well, it was special. It felt like a culmination of a long journey, and it wasn't a me award. It was more of a we award again, because so many people had helped me along the way. But it was very gratifying when the game stopped briefly, and I was able to hand the jersey to my oldest son and get the game ball. It was certainly a nice moment.
You did play during the 2005 season. Did you have any idea that the Falcons would sign you in 2006 and you'd get a chance to play again, or did you think it was over after 2004?
No, I was out for 20 months actually, practicing in a public park, and I really felt very strongly that I would be back. I didn't know it was going to take 20 months until I got a phone call and had an opportunity to come back in, but that's what happened. But thank God I was ready, and because it could have been obviously gone terribly wrong had I not been prepared. But when the call came and I had to win the job in 2006, I was ready to go and got plugged in and had a good year and was able to break the scoring record and play again in 2007. So it was just a matter of having the stubbornness and the will to continue, even though most people might have said you're probably done.
Did you ever think to yourself, I wish I could have kicked in the 2008 season to have a chance to break George Blanda's record, or did you not even think about it?
No, I tried. I tried to come back in 2008, but there were no takers. And so when I realized that it probably was going to be over, then I retired on the day after I would have been the oldest player in the league had I played. But it was more of a nod towards George Blanda and what he accomplished.
How do you not get signed during the 2008 season? I mean, you made almost 90% of your kicks the year before. Is it just because people thought you were too old?
I don't know. That's a question you would have to ask all the different player personnel guys. But I mean, at that time, I wasn't kicking off anymore, and I think my range had diminished. I was pretty good from 50 yards in, but everybody goes younger and cheaper, so I'm sure that's what kind of happened.
Did you have a favorite coach to play for?
I loved June Jones, and I really enjoyed Dan Reeves and Bum Phillips. And there's a lot of good guys.
How did it feel when you found out you got inducted to the Hall of Fame?
Well, it was a lot of emotions. Relief was one of them, I think, just that you no longer had to justify I did this, this, and this. Now it was an even playing field, and you're part of an exclusive brotherhood. I thought that was unique. That was a unique feeling. And then the history of excellence among those 310 players who are in the hall, or will be in the hall, by August 5th, and tremendous pride and gratitude towards everyone who helped me along the way.